Hello, my name is Mairead Maguire. I am the Nobel Peace Laureate from Ireland. I am delighted to be here to support the European Peace Project. We need so much to work against militarism and war and for peace and disarmament. I would like to share with you the Peace Manifesto, and I will read it, and I hope that you will be able to support it. The European Peace Project, the Manifesto for Peace, 9th of May 2026. Today, the 9th of May 2026, more than 80 years after the end of the Second World War in Europe, a war that claimed the lives of 60 million people, including 27 million Soviet citizens, we, the people of Europe, raise our voices once again. We note with concern that since our declaration last year, most European governments and the EU itself still refuse to pursue diplomacy with Russia in order to establish at last friendly, cooperative relations and to bring about an end to the US-NATO proxy war in Ukraine. We are appalled that a war that has already been decided militarily and has already cost the lives of far too many people on both sides is being prolonged in an irrational attempt to destroy Russia and to buy time for the redivision of the world in this monstrous and lethal game of poker. We mourn the growing number of dead soldiers and civilians in this senseless war in Ukraine, a war that is tearing Europe apart. And once again, we call out in full voice, Europe must stand for war never again. We watched in disbelief as the EU, which always prides itself on the rule of law, seriously considered confiscating Russian assets in Europe in violation of international law. We are alarmed that the EU and some EU governments are now depriving innocent citizens, including authors and journalists, who dare to question their policies and strategies of their civil rights, placing them on arbitrary sanction lists and denying them freedom of speech and freedom of expression, contrary to the law of rule of law. We wonder at our governments, parliamentarians, and more recently our courts, officially attributing the bombing of the Nord Stream pipeline to Ukrainian perpetrators, contrary to the wide belief that agents of the United States were the masterminds behind that terrorist attack. We are frustrated and angry that the entire EU bureaucracy, in conjunction with the EU member states, has so far failed to come up with a united, viable, peaceful and forward-looking European response to the new US military strategy. We must put an end to the subservience of the EU and European governments to the US, which tramples on international law in Palestine, Lebanon, Venezuela, and Iran, and also mocks Europe. The so-called Western world order has been shattered by its own double standards. We need a peaceful, neutral Europe, emancipated from the US, which formulates its own interests and assumes a mediating role in a multipolar world. Together with the BRICS country, Europe must strengthen international law and the UN Charter and build a bridge between East and West. We, the peoples of Europe, are therefore taking our destinies and our history into our own hands. We advocate for a new European security architecture with Russia, based on mutual regard and respect, and on the peaceful resolution of disagreements and conflict. We extend our hand to the citizens of Ukraine and Russia. We both belong to the European family. We object to the waste of billions of European taxpayers' money on the arms industry. Money should be used for the welfare of our people and the protection of the natural environment. We call for the abolition of the so-called European Peace Faculty and an immediate investigation into its use as a means of dual funding from European taxpayers' money, weapons of war and militarization, with a full public report of its findings. We all call on the European Union to establish instead a real European Peace Agency, an EPA, which will be a treaty-based, professional, non-military peace-building and mediation institution, modelled on the successful architecture of the European Space Agency, the ESA. Its mission will be to prevent, resolve and transform conflicts across Europe and neighbouring regions through expert mediation, research and rapid response diplomacy. The new European Peace Agency will work with and under the auspices of the United Nations. It will only engage in peacekeeping mandated by the United Nations and will always work with international law. We, the people of Europe, hereby declare we are not at war, neither with Russia nor with anyone else. We will not participate in the increasingly absurd war games. And our numbers are growing every day. We will not turn our children into soldiers to kill and to die on the battlefields. We will not stand by and watch our future and that of our children being sacrificed on the altar of power politics and our beautiful Europe destroying itself. Long live Europe in peace, justice, friendship and freedom. God bless you all.